This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of the fine young men in state politics, former probate judge and now state representative from Pike County, my friend Wes Allen, who is from Troy, Alabama, but grew up in Tuscaloosa. Wes, good to have you on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
You know, time flies by so fast. Wes was appointed a probate judge of Pike County in 2009, and soon thereafter I had him on this show. We filmed it in Troy, and that's been 10, 12 years ago now.
Yes, sir. Time flies, doesn't it?
You hadn't changed any, though. You still look young.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. You hadn't changed either.
Thank you. Wes was probate judge for 10 years, y'all, and then left that fantastic position to run for state representative. And I got to say this, he's sitting in the same seat I represented for 16 years. Now, when I first ran, my first year, you know, Pike's not big enough for a house seat. We got part of Barber. I got that slice of Barber over there where George Wallace is from. But then we all had to run for re-election in the middle of our term because reapportionment, the courts made us run in '83, and they moved me into Dale. So I had the Dale County area that you have.
Right.
You know,
That's how
those
Dale
are good folks in Ayrton and Skipville.
Oh, they're solid, great Americans, man. I just love them.
I know you love Skipville because you love baseball so much.
Yeah.
And you love sports. Skipville they won playing the state championship of baseball every year.
Yeah, they have a very strong program, and Ayrton is coming on strong too with a great program.
Wes, when I was in the legislature, I'd go to that Ayrton Skipville football game. That was as big a rivalry as I've ever seen in my life.
They are.
That was as hard a hitting game, that Ayrton Skipville game.
Well, it's about community pride, and you grow up with those people the rest of your life.
Exactly.
So,
would you go to them?
I mean, listen, yeah, I did, and they're good folks, and they want to represent their community, and they do a great job doing it. And those two schools are outstanding because they got great local leaders.
Wes, you grew up in Tuscaloosa now.
I did.
Where did you go to school and high school and everything in Tuscaloosa?
I graduated from Holt High School in 1993, where Mom and Dad graduated
Both
from.
of them went there same
Yes,
thing?
sir.
Did you have any of the same teachers?
We did. And
I had that in Troy.
Yeah.
Growing up in Troy, I had there were 4 or 5 teachers who had taught my mom and daddy.
Well, the same football coach coached my daddy.
Are you serious?
Woody Clements.
Had the same football coach.
Till I was a junior, and then he retired, and then we got a new coach.
What did you play in high school? Split in?
I did. Played wide receiver and a little backup quarterback, and then punted.
Is that right?
Yeah, and some defensive back, yeah.
Gerald make all the games, wouldn't he?
Oh, he'd make them all, man.
And you played at Alabama with Stallings.
We did. We walked on and played wide receiver. Coach Dabo Sweeney was my position coach.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was. Of course, everybody knows what he's done at Clemson.
Did y'all ever stay in touch?
We do. I talked to him recently, let him know what's kind of going on, and touch base with him. But he's still the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, he's been successful, hasn't he?
He has. He's a winner.
Did you have any dream when he was coaching you at your position, coaching college, that he'd be that kind of? Nobody could ever see him being that super successful.
Well,
could you?
I mean, you can't see into the future, obviously, but you can tell when folks are leaders and when they work hard and do the right thing. And he would get after you now. I mean, he'd coach you up hard. And you know,
right?
I appreciated it, and the guys around us appreciated somebody that would push us and coach us, and because he cared, and he cared about us.
Julio wasn't there the same time you were there, was he?
Oh no, he's much younger. He was much younger. I graduated in
that's
'98.
right.
I graduated in '98.
That's right. Yeah, Julio was Saban, one of Saban's players.
Yeah.
But who were some of the receivers on that Stallings team?
Incidentally, Quincy Jackson from Brundage, Alabama,
was
on that team. He caught 2 touchdowns on tip passes in the LSU game, if you remember, in '98, and we came back and scored 2 or 3 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. Sean Alexander was on that team, and then Cornelius Griffin from Brundage
was on that.
Was the defensive line. Was on the defensive tackle.
The same team when you played.
Yeah. So little did I know that I had those Pike County connections. And one day I would move down to their home.
And Cornelius does that big thing at Thanksgiving for a lot of people.
He does. You're talking about a great community leader in Cornelius. He cares about Brundage and that community.
Wes, when you ran for the legislature, I believe you carried every box, didn't you?
We almost everyone but one, I think.
But you carried every one in Dale too, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, everyone in Pike, and then we missed one in Dale.
As it carried every box,
yeah.
I knew you carried every box in Pike County.
Yeah, we had a good night.
You won about 60-40, didn't you? Was it
In the
higher than that?
in the primary.
Well, that was
and
election,
then,
yeah.
Yeah, and then in the general election, we lost a few more boxes, but that's okay.
Did Joel
So-
Williams run against you for the legislature?
He did in the general. Yes, sir.
He runs every time. Seems like old Joel. He's a perennial
Yes.
candidate for the Democrats in Pike County.
Yes, sir.
But it'll always, so that seat will be opened up.
Yeah.
And
it'll
there'll
open.
be several of them probably running for it, I
Yes,
would
sir.
think.
Mhm.
I'm sort of surprised some of them Dale Cannon getting that thing sometime.
Yeah.
Had you ever thought about that?
Well, it's just all about numbers.
Uh-huh.
Obviously the Pike County has a vast majority of numbers compared to Dale. But,
You all folks, Wes is running for Secretary of State on the 2022 ballot as a Republican candidate statewide. He's been a probate judge for 10 years and now legislator for 3 or 4. Being a probate judge and running the elections is an excellent, if not the best, background for Secretary of State, because that's one of the biggest things you do in the Secretary of State's office. Is you tell everybody what all the Secretary of State does when you run for that.
Well, I agree with you. Being a probate judge and the chief elections official in your county, it prepares you for what the endeavor that we've taken on running for Secretary of State. We were able to run 18 different election cycles. We've seen a lot of things. I've been there at the courthouse at 5:30 on election day when it's time to open up the courthouse. I've been to all the precincts during election day to check on the poll workers. I've appointed poll workers, trained poll workers, laid out the ballot, proofed the ballot, ordered the ballots, fixed the machines. Everything in between, we've had our hands on. And so it's going to be a local perspective that I bring to the Secretary of State's office, because I've worked alongside, the circuit clerks and the sheriffs that do a great job administering election law as well, and poll workers and board of registrars are vitally important. And so I'm going to be there to support them. But the most important thing in my mind the Secretary of State does is make sure we have honest, open, and transparent, secure elections. And that's one thing we're going to continue.
That's the biggest thing, and you've had the experience doing that. But back to your probate judge job, that's a pretty all-encompassing job. See, Secretary of State, is important, but I'm saying probate judge, you not only had the tags, you got to be in charge of selling the car tags.
Yeah.
You got the elections, but you also got commitment hearings.
You got court, civil court side of
civil
things.
court things.
Yeah. Probate wills,
that's
adoptions.
a tough job.
Yeah, mental commitment hearings.
Yeah. I had lunch with J.C. Love, the probate judge in Montgomery today, and I was asking him, different probate judges will say different things. I remember talking to Bobby Junkins one time.
Etowah County.
Yeah, asking him what his take on it was. Yeah. Bobby had done it so long, and he was so perfectly suited for that job. Nothing seemed to bother him. But you'd have some say, I've got to get out of here. The elections are killing me. The election process is what. And then another one say, Lord have mercy, Steve, this commitment thing's just hard as a dickens. So you'd have different ones say, I've got to get out of this job for those reasons, because people don't realize how much the probate judge does. I mean, you got 4 jobs in one, really.
You do. I mean, that's not even. You didn't even mention the all of the deeds and mortgages and all the recording that goes in. I mean, you are the caretaker for all those vital documents
in the courthouse.
In the courthouse, and it's vitally important. I mean, if you don't have good documents, how can attorneys come run title and sell land and turn over land? So it's vitally important for business. Here's
another thing too. People don't realize when they look at the secondary offices, the jobs of lieutenant governor, public service commission, and to a large degree state treasurer, but then also state auditor, those jobs don't have a lot of responsibility. But Secretary of State, I mean, that's a full-time job.
It is.
People don't realize you've got a staff of 50 to 75 people, don't you?
It's not quite that many.
It's not that many.
But
so staff, though.
Yeah, but you're right. It's.
I mean, the auditor, they ain't got 2 or 3 people. I mean, I mean, you managed 4 or 5 people in the probate office in Pike County, didn't you?
We had 9.
9 people. See, you used to, when you manage people, that's a full-time job. I never forget, Jim Bennett and I were good friends, serving the legislature together and remained friends. I'd go over and visit with him sometimes, the Secretary of State. And he would have the most worried look on his face. He said, Steve, this job is not what it's cracked up to be. He said, I had the most headache with employees, you know, because someone wants their corporation filed and they want it back the next day. Well, you got some state workers decided he just didn't want to do it that day, won't come in, or, you know, or just, you know, I mean, they get in fights with each other. He said, I've had to settle 3 discord things, you know, because they're mad with each other down there and they won't do the work and they won't come in, and it's just, you know, the Secretary of State's job does something.
Yeah, it's a working office.
It really
And,
is.
you know, like you said, corporations and LLCs, you know, getting turned around that same day is important because people are, you know, trying to get business done.
They are.
Yeah.
Now, Merrill's done a good job of that.
He has done a good job of that.
They were backed up, I think, a long
Yes, they
time.
were.
Whoever was Secretary of State for him, they'd gotten backed up a little bit. But he's cleaned that up.
Yeah, he's worked hard at it. He's worked hard at getting those things turned around the same day, because when you got people starting businesses and wanting to, you know, get some things done, it's important for that office to respond, and they've done that.
John's done a good job. But your background's perfect for that. You know, another thing, too, that people don't realize, you are what I consider an extremely well-liked and very conservative but in quality person. You've spent a lot of time, and everybody in Troy knows this, with your children. You've been a super father for them. Tell our viewers about your wife, how y'all met. Now, she's from Centerville, Bibb County, isn't she?
She's a Bibb County girl.
Did y'all meet in high school or college or what?
We met at Alabama. I was injured. I was injured. Broke my leg and was, you know, on the sideline, and she was a Crimsonette, and happened to meet her on the sideline.
So you would go out?
Well, you know, it took me a little while to ask her out, but I finally got smart enough, and so yeah, she's from Brent in Centerville area, which is in Bibb County. She's went to Bibb County High School, and we got married, moved to Troy, and
She a good friend of old Jim Oakley?
oh yeah, she knows Coach Oakley and Mike Oakley.
Mike is the mayor now.
Mike's the mayor of Centerville.
Centerville, huh? They good friends of mine. You talking about Jim Oakley's one heck of a good guy.
He is. But Kay's got deep roots in Bibb County. That's where her family's from, and you know.
Your children now grown up too. Tell us about your boy and your girl now.
Yeah, so Davis.
You coached them a lot.
I did. We were very involved in rec ball and football and all that sort of thing. But Davis is be a sophomore at Shelton State.
Named after your wife's family.
Yeah, took her maiden name, Davis Allen, and he's a sophomore at Shelton State playing baseball for Coach Sproul. And we just got back from Grand Junction, Colorado from the Junior College Baseball World Series last month, and that was a lot of fun, and he's doing really well. And Deanna will be a senior in high school, and got a big year in front of her. Very proud of her. Saw her the other night at that Jefferson County thing. Yeah, I took her with me to that event.
Wes, tell our viewers now, where all you been since you, he was probate judge for 10 years and now representative for 3 or 4. And but you jumped in there. You're the first one in that race, in the Secretary of State's race.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell us about your campaign. What you've been doing so far. Tell me where all you've been and your most fun things you've been doing.
Well, first of all, Alabama is a beautiful state.
It's beautiful. It's big.
It's big and it's beautiful. And
it really is. Wes, that's the thing I tell people when they run statewide. I says, if I were, people don't realize I used to get out and visit. I never ran statewide, but I got out and visited all my papers. I'm in almost all the papers in the state. And
sure.
My columnist, but I used to, when I first started doing this column, I get out and visit, and I would say the same thing. I say, this is the prettiest part. But I'll tell you one thing, I'd fix my schedule so I would be up in that northeast part of the state around DeKalb and Fort Payne and up there at Scottsboro.
Oh, yeah.
In the fall of the year.
Yeah.
And if I was going to do my scheduling, I'd say I'm going up there in November, late October. I remember going up there and visiting my papers in Fort Payne and Scottsboro, and there was a little bitty paper up there in the northeast part around the corner of the state in Stevenson. You ever heard of Stevenson?
I've heard of Stevenson.
It's right there in the corner of Georgia and Alabama.
It's up there in Jackson County,
right?
It
is. It's the northern part of Jackson County. And I was coming down a mountain to Scottsboro to the Daily Sentinel, and I tell you, North Carolina didn't have a thing on us. That was the prettiest part. When people who have places up in Cheahaw swear by it. That part of the state is so pretty in the fall. And then, of course, you got the beaches and you got the mountains.
Yeah.
We've got it all. You know, we've got more water than most states ever thought about having.
I crossed the Tennessee River the other day going into Florence for a
Uh-huh.
speaking engagement, and I'd never spent a lot of time up there.
Right.
A couple of times with Davis playing baseball or me playing, years and years ago, but just the beauty of that river and that
The
I mean,
Tennessee
it was
River.
just so pretty.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it is, and the state's beautiful. And we drove across the country to go to that Junior College World Series in Colorado, and there's some pretty spots. But Alabama the beautiful. I mean, it really is.
It
And
is.
we've enjoyed being on the road and getting around and meeting a lot of great Alabamians.
Tell me where all you been so far in the state?
Well, I've been to Madison County numerous times. I've been to
A
Lawrence.
lot of votes up there.
Been to Lawrence and Lauderdale County a
Are the
couple of times.
legislators in the areas kind of helping you?
They are.
Some of them are kind of
they've been fantastic, and I've got some of the greatest colleagues, Republican colleagues in the House.
Who all's helping you in the House?
Oh man, I mean, when I went to Madison the other day, Rex Reynolds and Andy Witt, and we're up there, and Greedy and had a little function for me. I went to Marshall County that same day. Wes Kitchens helped me up there. Prauncey Robinson over there in Lawrence County helped me that day. I mean, it could go on and on.
We got a great Wiregrass delegation.
We do.
All y'all are
We
freshmen.
do.
Talk about the mayor from Hartford, Sorrells. Jeff Sorrells. He go by Sorrells or Sorrells?
Sorrells, Jeff Sorrells.
And then Rhett Markey, he goes by Marcus.
Rhett Marcus.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, used to be a city councilman out
Right.
of Enterprise, and
I got a picture on my wall with you and
Yeah,
Rhett and
Jeff.
Jeff and Klaus maybe in there too.
that first session
Uh-huh.
we were in.
Yeah. And old Klaus, I don't know we let Klaus be in there now since he was a veteran. I think he was just a freshman.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, you got Rhett and Jeff
Uh-huh.
and Klaus and Mike Jones. You got Donnie Chastain in the Senate. You got Jimmy Holly in the Senate. The Wiregrass is well represented. We got some.
Have you been in
fantastic folks.
Mobile? How do you campaign in Mobile?
We haven't yet. We got that coming up,
Uh-huh.
but we're going to get down to Mobile and Baldwin County.
You know, campaign Baldwin very special in the Republican primary. Have you done anything in Shelby yet?
Made one. No, that was Jefferson County and on the Hoover side of Jefferson County, but hadn't been to any speaking engagements yet. But we're headed to DeKalb County and Madison County again this weekend. For a
I'm
couple
going
of
up there
events.
for that Nathaniel Ledbetter Livingston thing.
I'll be there.
Yeah, that breakfast thing.
I'll be there.
They keep asking me to
And
be
the
sure.
parade. There's a parade.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm going, I guess I'll drive up that morning. I don't know.
That's a long ways from Troy, Alabama.
it is.
Drive that morning.
I think I'll break it up in Birmingham. probably. But they keep telling me, so you got to come up here for
Yeah, I'll be up there with you.
Good.
Yeah, he invited me up, and the majority leader's been a good friend, and he invited me early on. He said, "Now you got to come to this breakfast and this parade we're having on the 3rd of July." So
Hell, they called me the first day of the year. Said,
Yeah.
Flowers, you got to, is this on your calendar? I said, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm coming.
it's a big event.
So 7:30, I'll be there on
That's it.
Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you'll campaign all the 4th of July and Labor Day and everything,
will.
won't you?
We got an event on the 3rd, which is Saturday, and on the 4th on the Sunday afternoon too.
Have you got somebody like running your campaign and everything, like a strategist and things?
Consultant? Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
we've got a consultant.
Uh-huh.
Sure do.
But are y'all gonna put most of your money on social media or TV or what? How do you spend your money in that race? I'd keep my powder dry to the last.
That's
I really
about
would.
right.
I
And,
don't think people pay attention to
right.
those races until
Until the very. You're right.
on the very end.
You're right.
But it's difficult not to go ahead and
Right.
and say I'm gonna spend this much. If somebody says, if you were Shelby, you put a billboard everywhere.
He was good at them billboards now.
He thought that was like he
Yeah.
did it. They did it in 1970 when he ran for the state senate in Tuscaloosa. And he thought that was the best thing he did. So I got tickled that Tom Young from Huntsville, who used to be his administrative assistant, was going to run his campaign. I said, Tom, what's he going to say? He said he wants to do those billboards.
Yeah.
I said, well, Shelby, how you going to find anywhere? Alexander Shinora's got them all. Every billboard said, I'll find some.
Well, obviously they were very good for him because he's done a very good job for Alabama for
He
a
really
long
has.
time. And
We're going to really miss him.
I hope people understand the impact he's been able to make on our state
He really
over
has.
the years, and we're going to miss him.
I can't replace him. Back to your race. So you're gonna be. You got your schedule planned for the 4th of July and Labor Day and everything, don't you?
Oh yeah, we've got it planned out from now till the fall, early fall. I mean, we've got a lot of dates set.
Now back to the legislature. You may be dropped off to have a couple of special sessions. I think you got to have one on reapportionment.
Sure.
But I'm hearing that's going to be the fall.
October is what I'm hearing.
And then, but you got to small prisons too.
Yep. Here we may have one sometimes late summer.
That was your hair in late
Yeah,
summer.
yeah,
Because you got to do something.
Yeah, yeah.
But now the lease thing is not going to work. It's going to have to be owned. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm hearing they're trying to get, trying to get that lease thing, to work one more time. But I don't know. I'm not privy to those conversations. I hadn't heard much. But
Klaus, being chairman of Ways and Means General Fund, he is trying to wonder if you can use some of that CARES federal money for prisons. Do you think you'd be able to? Have you heard anything on that?
Well, we'll have to depend on our fine attorneys we have in the legislature, in LSA, to determine
that.
if we can do that, or if that's even a viable option. But Representative Klaus, Chairman Klaus, has done a really good job with that general fund. I mean,
he really has.
He has navigated some, waters over the last 10 years when there was no, some tight budgets, and conservative budgeting has really got us in a spot now where we're able to do some things.
I'm glad you brought that up, Wes, because that is exactly the reason Alabama's not behind the 8 ball like most states are with the COVID thing. Is 2 reasons. I had Steve on here, Steve Klaus, and he was talking about that. Not just his physical budgeting and planning for rainy days, but also the new tax on sales on online has helped the general fund.
It has.
It has helped us save it. You'll miss the legislature, though, won't you?
I'll miss my relationships, man.
That's what I said when I left. I said, that's what I'd miss.
Good friends. And you make an impact too, representing your people of your district, but you develop relationships with those men and women.
You sure do.
And they're just some good people.
Well, they're helping you in your campaign.
They are, and they're solid folks, and they care about their district, and they care about Alabama.
Who was talking you up a lot in Birmingham was old David Wheeler.
He's a good one.
Yeah. He talks you up in Vestavia.
Man, yeah, he's the best.
You know what he says? He says, are you going to win? And that's what old Wallace used to always say to me. He said, I'd rather have someone say I'm going to win than they for me. Because they think if you for them, you got some reason to be for them. But if you say they're going to win, and they want to be on the bandwagon.
Well, I appreciate David for saying that.
Yeah, he's pushing you.
He's been a good friend.
Wes, tell me this, though. How many employees does the Secretary of State have now? 40 to 50?
I think so, yeah. Somewhere around in that ballpark.
How many do you get to hire as Secretary of State? Do you have the
well, it's all depending on that budget,
and
the budgetary constraints. But Mr. Merrill, he's done a good job trimming down that office and making it run efficiently and streamlined a lot of services. And he's done a good job with that office.
Yeah. Well, are there many legislators? Now, another one of your freshman House members running for Alder.
Yeah.
Andrew Sorrell.
Yeah.
Saw that the other day.
Yeah, he's from Florence area. Muscle Shoals, Tuscaloosa area up that way.
Who are your best friends in the House? You go over and see your daddy a lot of times?
Oh, I got to check on Dad all the time upstairs in the Senate. And yeah, no, it's got to keep him plugged in. What's going on? He loves to know what's happening. So
you got to tell the folks in Tuscaloosa you're from Tuscaloosa too.
That's right.
In the campaign, they'll vote for what I call friends and neighbors politics. See, that's one thing good about your situation is you got two home regions.
I sure do.
Big Jim Folsom won the 1946 governor's race with just that theory. He was born and raised in the Wiregrass and around Elba. His old home's up near the Pike County line, but he moved to Cullman as a grown man, and so he had 2 bases. People in Cullman figured he was from Cullman. People in the Wiregrass voted for him because he's the Wiregrass. You can see the voting for that. People vote for somebody from their region. They identify with.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that many times and read about it in your book too.
It's still true.
It is true.
I still think, and they say, well, I would teach that class at Troy University, and I'd say, I'd tell them about the friends and neighbors. I said, let me give y'all an example. If some guy's from Sampson, and people are voting in Sampson, they'll say, well, I know old Joe's the worst drunk and crook I've ever seen, but by God, he's my crook. Drunk, I'm not voting for that guy from Shear Hall or Anderson or something, because he's not one of us. They'll vote for that friends and neighbors thing.
You're right.
Every time they say, well,
it is true.
Well, it's going to be a long ballot too.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all the probate judges, all the sheriffs.
Well, I don't think
Not all the probate judges.
Yeah, they're not up this time. But
Now,
sheriffs,
the sheriffs are. Yeah.
Sheriffs are.
Sheriffs are up. People forget other races on the ballot too. You got all the big thing is those local legislative races.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody's gonna run on new lines.
State Senate and state representative, and no telling how many county commissioners in the local races and school board, and so it all depends on the community and the county. But you're right, it'll be a big ballot.
And during that that reapportionment thing, even though the areas change, and we're not going to lose a congressional seat, those become pretty contentious, and everybody's lines are going to change a little bit. They got to change some. You know, you can't have. I mean, it's changed. People move around. But you'll be involved in that, won't you?
Sure.
Oh, Pringle will be too. When Pringle's chairman.
Pringle does a good job being chairman. Chris Pringle, Representative Chris Pringle.
Yeah, from Mobile.
Yep.
Wes, are your children glad you're running statewide? Is your wife, what they say about when you're running statewide? They say, Dad, this is not something but you got them grown though.
Yeah,
you know?
they're.
You ain't got to go to all their games anymore.
Right. So it's.
You've done a good job as a daddy.
Well, thank you.
As a public service and a daddy, and people in Pike County are cognizant of that too.
Well, I got the best wife and best two kids
Well,
man could ask for.
people think a lot of you as a good family man, a good Christian man. You've done a good job as probate judge of Pike County and state representative. Our time's up, old Wes.
Yes, sir. I've enjoyed it.
I love
As
it.
always.
Folks, our guest tonight has been State Representative Wes Allen from Troy, who represents Pike and Dale County in the House. And he also was probate judge of Pike County for 10 years prior to being in the legislature. He's running for Secretary of State of Alabama in this year's election. And we thank Wes Allen for being our guest, and we thank you viewers for watching. Hope you tune in again next week for Alabama Politics. Goes about her day.